What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. You can also follow me on YouTube and TikTok at March 4th Pod. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. So that means if you made it here, then you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. How is everybody doing, man? I hope that this finds you well as it hits your eardrums. I myself am doing all right. I'm laughing a little bit to myself, man, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I usually re-record these intros and closes to the pod numerous times because I'm a perfectionist. And it's supposed to be fun, but I'm like, I gotta have it perfect, man. But today, it was a little bit different when I was doing the intro and close because it wasn't just my recovering perfectionism. It's actually because my allergies have been hitting me hard. And that's why my voice, for those of you who listen to the show regularly, is a little bit deeper than it normally is. I've got kind of like a late night radio voice going on right now, man, which isn't bad. But between the allergies and me having burnt my tongue within the last week, I think it was a combination of some like hot soup that I had in conjunction with accidentally using a toothbrush that I use for this whitening serum stuff, which is very clear on the bottle. It's not supposed to go anywhere but your teeth. And I usually use a separate toothbrush for like brushing my teeth and brushing my tongue. And then I use one for like the whitening serum stuff. And I just used the same toothbrush, and I thought I rinsed off all of the whitening serum, and it turns out I didn't, I guess, because I'm like, there's no way I burnt my tongue that bad from that soup. So anyway, that's way too much information, more than you needed to know. But I thought I had to share that because like I've done the intro to this one a lot because yeah, I've been like salivating a lot and like having to take pauses and stuff because my tongue is still like somewhat on fire. It's not like totally on fire, but enough that it's like holy shnikes, I'm salivating a lot. And so anyway, a lot of perfectionism, but I wanted to get it right. And but I felt like I had to let you guys know that. So yeah, I'm pushing through some allergies. I'm pushing through that. And your boy got sunburnt this past weekend on Labor Day weekend. It was a beautiful day. Had a great time. Met my stepdad Jack and his buddy Larry. We went to Lexington for the Toledo versus Kentucky football game. But it was a great time on Saturday. It was a beautiful day in Lexington. Such a cool city, man. And I'm smart now, man, because I'm incredibly pale. So I always put on sunscreen if I know I'm going to be out in the sun and it's going to be like a Chamber of Commerce, beautiful day. And it was, man. It was like there was a breeze. It was 80, but if I'm out there too long, man, even if I've gotten good coverage, I'll get like these blotch burns just because I'm so pale. So I do have some farmer tan going on my arms. The tops of my hands are like lobster red because probably from washing them. And then I didn't account for, when you sit down, your pants hike up a little bit. So I have like two angry red blotches on my ankles from the sun just being like, yeah, you didn't put sunscreen there. So anyway, thank God for aloe vera and ibuprofen. Way more information than you needed to know about my sore tongue and my sunburn and my allergies, but I felt like I had to share it because this is like the 29th version of the intro of the show. But in the hardest transition in the history of podcasting, I am going to switch gears here to this week's guest. I hope that everybody had a great weekend. Hopefully, you didn't get sunburned. You don't have a sore tongue like me. But doing this show, man, I love music. And as somebody who struggles with some anxiety and clear overthinking, mental health is really important to me, man. And so that's kind of the meaning behind March 4th. For those of you who are new to the show, is perseverance and moving forward, chasing your dreams. And over the years, I've gotten to connect with a lot of really great people, man, doing this show and hopefully putting y'all onto some awesome new artists that maybe you weren't aware of. And one of this week's guests is a return guest to the show. The other one is brand new to the show, but they're connected because they used to play in the same band together back in the day. They are none other than Colt of Forever May Fall and Kelly of Killakoi. They are both awesome guitarists and awesome people. They used to play in a band together called Something Clever back in the day. And like a lot of bands, man, when COVID hit, things got really weird because, you couldn't play live shows. People were in quarantine, and Something Clever just disbanded, and each member, kind of went their separate ways. But they were a band that reached some really cool heights. They played a lot of awesome live shows over the years, got to share the stage with some great bands, had some songs that went crazy on streaming. And they never really got to do a proper send off when the band disbanded with COVID and everything that was going on. And as it worked out, like things always do, the timing was right. And this Saturday, September 6th, at Amos Southend in Charlotte, North Carolina, they are going to do a farewell show, an official farewell show for all the fans and friends of the band. And it also synced up perfectly with the 10-year anniversary of their EP Season of Darkness. So it was really cool to get Colt and Kelly on here to talk about their time and Something Clever together, talk about this farewell show, and just have a great conversation, man. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Colt and Kelly about Something Clever. Here it is. All righty, Kelly, Colt, thank you so much for taking the time. Colt's done this a few times, but Kelly, welcome aboard the pirate ship. I'm a one-man band over here, but I love doing these things. And when Colt reached out and let me know about the history before Forever May Fall, I was like, hell yeah, I definitely want to hear about Something Clever and learn more about the band and the show you guys are doing. So thank you so much for taking the time to get on the pod.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, it's always good chatting, man. You're one of my favorites out there, genuinely. Like it's always been, awesome talking with you and the rest of the band. And for Something Clever, it was so cool to go back and listen to the music when you reached out and you're like, hey, have you checked out Something Clever? We've got a show coming up and we're gonna do this awesome concert. And I'm like, hell yeah, man, let me get on that. And it was fun going back and listening. So just to start there with Something Clever. Um, and I was kind of, checking out the Instagram too and doing my research, if you will, getting ready for this. But can you kind of talk about, I guess, like the band starting and the history you have, and then ultimately what led to the timing of wanting to do this show that's coming up in September?
For sure. Um, well, it was Colt and I's like first band, basically. That was where we got our start, was Something Clever. And it made us into the musicians we are today. It was our foundation. I don't know if you have anything to add, Colt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, it was really cool to like it's funny, I was a fan of the band before I joined it, and it was my first like time seeing like a local band just in general. And then, a year or so later getting asked to join my favorite local band was like a no-brainer. But I think as far as the timing right now, I think it just with what everyone's doing and where everyone's going with their lives and kind of careers and everything, it made sense for us to kind of just do this now when there's a bit of time to be able to do so to give it the kind of care and respect that it deserves. Because we never really got to say goodbye when we did our last show. It was right before the world shut down.
Yeah. Basically, like this band started when I was writing my first songs when I was in high school, like 2012 era, and it was just, people, kids, basically. We were just kids jamming songs, and it eventually turned into recordings, which turned into, getting into the Charlotte music scene, and we spent 2012 to 2020, basically, uh, just going at 100, trying to make things happen. And when COVID hit, it hit us just like everyone else, and we kind of realized we were headed in different directions, and um, that's kind of where me and Colt are today. We're in our own projects and working on different things, and um, the other guys I think are playing music here and there, uh, doing their own thing as well. But we never really did get to, with COVID, we didn't know the end was the end. We didn't know those last couple shows were going to be the last shows, and things fizzled out after that. So it's nice to, after 5 years of nothing, we didn't even say goodbye on Facebook or anything, on Instagram, or we just vanished. And it's nice to have this opportunity to close the story on something that was actually just really important in all of our lives for so long. It was 10 years or more. I mean, for me at least. For Colt, he joined what year? What was that? I mean, 2013.
2013, and then I left in 2018 to do the A Light Divided record.
Yeah. So it was a long time to not um give something a final send off. So it feels right. And yeah, super stoked.
So COVID was kind of like the catalyst of things just sort of kind of fizzling out, like you said. I mean, since this is your first time on the show, Kelly, like Colt knows I'm not like a dig for the dirt type of guy. But just but you and it sounds like you kind of touched on it already, but just sort of the world stood still. I think I saw you guys did a show, was it with like POD? Um, right around that time there was like a
Puddle of Mud was the last two shows we did. Like there was one in Greensboro, North Carolina, and then one in Charlotte, like weeks before. It was like in March of 2020. And then everything went down. And honestly, like Colt had already left at that point, and we were in this kind of weird experimental phase where the singer and I were just looking at it like doing hired guns, like me and him, and then like getting fill-ins because everyone was kind of just getting too busy to do it, and it was sort of already fizzling out. And then COVID was kind of just like the cherry on top. And for me personally, I just kind of like realized that was just in a different place, and I needed to. That's when my band Killakoi came along, and like the stars kind of just aligned for me, and I just realized that that was where I needed to go. Um, so I did.
Yeah, and like especially with this lineup too, like the even at our last shows, it wasn't the five people that are playing this show. It's we had a different drummer, and you know, even a couple shows before that, it was always like kind of rotating members. So it's nice that like the main five people are getting back together to do at least, just one more show.
Yeah, because this that lineup that we have planned for the show, which is me, Colt, the singer Adam, guitar player Brett, and drummer Justin. Um, that was the lineup when we released our full-length album, Season of Light. Uh, and that was the lineup that did the most things in the band. I feel like that was when we had the most hype around us. That was when we did the most exciting things, the most memorable things, at least for me. Uh, it was that lineup. So it feels right.
I'm glad you guys are able to get back together and like you said have a proper send off because obviously I mean we all listen to a lot of the just with the music that you play a lot of the same music and it's a bummer when bands end up, you know, disbanding or members change. And, sometimes as fans, you don't always get the full story, but sometimes you get a happy ending out of it too, where like I think about Kill Switch Engage and Light the Torch, and the relationship that Jesse and Howard and Adam and all those guys have. And then you see stuff with like Howard is is working with Adam on something new.
Yeah.
Light the Torch. Um, was it Kill Switch had Light the Torch on their not their most recent album, but the album before that they did a song together. They
Hmm.
toured together, and it's so you sometimes you get cool stuff like that, or like Seven Dust, who I'm like a huge like fanboy over. Like um those guys have been playing together most of their lives. And there was a period where Clint was out of the band, and I loved the Dark New Day stuff that he did with his brother. Um, but it's rare that you see the lineups like that, whether it's like Metallica, Seven Dust, Korn, where it's a similar lineup or mostly the same people in the band 20, 30 or more years. It's hard.
Right.
And I don't think the average fan knows, especially when you're starting out wherever you are, whether it's your hometown or you meet up in a city, getting plugged into the local music scene, trying to develop relationships with the venues and the promoters. Everybody's got jobs that are feeding the music, which is what they really want to do. Like it's hard. You have all these other factors that are coming in. So I can only imagine something like COVID, just in having like that real life crazy thing that we were all going through in the midst of like chasing your dreams with music and making things happen. So I'm glad that you guys are doing a proper send off for the band, because yeah, I just don't think the average fan knows like how hard it is to keep a band together, like all the personalities, the different influences, like, and that's just the music piece of it, and then it's just practice time, day-to-day life. So yeah, that's a long way of me saying I'm glad you guys are getting to do it again. I want to give you your flowers real quick. Going back and listening to the catalog, there were some that I put down that really stuck out to me. I really love The Hill. I really love Get With It. Always. Rise. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I just have Spotify. I enjoyed that one, and the fact that that one's like creeping up on a million plays on Spotify is cool. And Kelly, the one I really got to give you your flowers on, man, because that was like was Echoes. So the song structure that was awesome, but that solo in that, oh my God, there's not even a question in here other than just like, holy crap, like that was so cool. And then watching the music video where you're doing like the tapping part, I'm like, oh my God, that seriously, like I listen to a lot of heavy music. That is like one of the sickest solos. The fact that you guys brought back like the breakdown at the end of the song too, because I feel like you could have faded it out if you wanted to, and like that still would have been dope. But the fact that you brought the breakdown back at the end too, like, so anyway, I'm sure that one will probably be sick live. But those were some of my.
Holt and I wrote that one together, honestly. Like, give him solo props for that too, because that initial song was Colt's like foundation. I remember like he had that song kind of already written, and he brought that one in. But it was cool. All that older stuff, man, is cool because we were young and naive and like didn't care about, oh, well, you can't have a you can't have a however long minute solo for that long and then just end the song. Like
Right.
it's like we would just never do that anymore. And it's just kind
Yeah.
of ridiculous, but it's also dope. And it's really fun to play live. Like, everybody always goes nuts at that whole solo section.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to both of you guys, man, for yeah, that one. If I had to pick a favorite, going back and listen to y'all stuff, I really loved the way that whole song flowed. And The Hill was just had like that grimy kind of heavy like riff. It kind of gave me like a little bit of Corn vibes. Like I just like I don't even know if that makes sense to y'all. Maybe you're like we weren't
Hmm.
going well, but
It's got
but
that trebly bass feel, and yeah, that's a cool one. It's gritty. It's funny, the first three that you named were off of one EP called Moments Blue, which was really later. Like that one came out in man, 2018 or something. It was later in the band's career. So it's funny that you mentioned a couple of those.
the Season of Light,
Always.
that was 2017, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Season of Light, I really loved on that one. Never Been to Vancouver. I mean, that's a sick song title, but I really loved that one too. Off of that one. Breakthrough, and am I saying it right? Dysphagia? Am I
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones I really enjoyed off of and Rise obviously is sick too, but yeah, I really liked Never Been to Vancouver off of that one. And that
Man,
That
one's
song's fun.
that
that
one
song,
is like what the third you guys did 13 songs. That was
was a
I
big
mean I
endeavor.
feel yeah, like putting together a 13 song album is an endeavor, man. But yeah, that one was I want to make sure I highlight that album too, even though the stuff that once I mentioned initially. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, never been to Vancouver. I really loved.
That one's fun. It's like it's on the verge of being too fast. If it was
Yeah,
any
it feels like
faster, it would just be ridiculous. Like,
yeah, feels like it's gonna fall off the tracks at any moment.
yeah, yeah, it does. It's fun though. It stands on its own.
Hmm.
You mentioned Rise. That song is like we've always said our Creep. Like, you know how Radiohead hates their song Creep. So Rise has been with the band for basically the whole lifelong period of the band because when what was it 2013, this is how we found Adam the singer. Was we needed somebody to come fill in and do this commercial for WSOC TV in North Carolina, Charlotte, and they needed this. We were young, so we were just like jumping at any opportunity to do anything. And they needed this commercial for their high school Friday night football commercial on WSOC TV. And we somehow got chosen to write the music. Um, and we didn't know anything about sync licensing or anything or publishing and nothing at this point. We were just like, cool, we're going to be on TV. Um, so we were just trying to find somebody at this point to be a singer. And Adam came in and we wrote this corny high school Friday night football song, and it was Rise, but the lyrics that you now know were not there. They were all about Friday night football. And we did this whole thing, and it was really embarrassing for a couple years. And we finally took it down, and then we moved on from with that. We released Season of Darkness, whatever. And then around the time that Season of Light was being recorded, we were being reintroduced into the sync world via our manager at the time. Uh, and he was like, guys, we really need like an active rock track, and we just need to throw some vocals on it, and it's gonna be good. We'll just give it to sync. And we were like, cool, all right, yeah, let's just pull this song that we used to use because we already had it written and we were kind of in a hurry. And we were like, let's just pull, the football song and rewrite it. And so Adam rewrote the lyrics and made it into Rise, and then we gave it to the sync company, and then we thought it was dope enough to just go ahead and release on Season of Light. And then it kind of blew up in our world like through sync. Like all the sync play, we're still getting sync placements today. Like it was on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Black Ink Crew, Colt, you probably know some others.
Dude, Forged in Fire.
Tons of episodes of Forged in Fire.
Yeah, like I saw one recently for Married at First Sight. I'm like, why is this song in this show?
I
Like
was
my
I was
mom watches the show, dude.
I was hanging out with Colt not that long ago, and he pulls this thing up, and
Oh my
it's
God.
Queen Latifah as like a FBI agent, like with a gun, like walking. I don't know what show it was, and some dude in the background was listening to Rise. It was just like we're still getting these ridiculous placements for that song, and but we never even really liked the song that much. It was just one of those ones that we were like, yeah, we'll just pull this one out and throw it on the record, and now, like you said, it's like the most played one on our Spotify, and it's so corny and goofy, but
It's had a weird second life.
or
But it means more now than it did then, which is pretty awesome, honestly.
yeah.
Isn't that crazy how it's like sometimes the ones that like the songs I've seen this with other artists too, not necessarily that same exact story, but where it's like a song that maybe they didn't think was going to be a hit, or they thought it was like, hey, this is a good song, we'll put it on the record, but it ends up being one that people are like, oh my God, like play that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it's funny
crazy.
how that is how that happens.
Hmm.
We didn't want to run up on stage and go, "Here we go." But here we are.
Yeah, it's really funny too because that song in particular, there's three songs on Seasonal Light that aren't played to a click track at all because of the sync licensing thing and how we had to do it. And Rise just happens to be one of them.
Yeah,
Like there's no click, just straight play in all five of us at the same
because
time.
because we went into our studio and we started recording these three tracks. Just I don't know why we didn't play to a click. We definitely could have, but it was just to like get a video recording or like a very simple recording of like a demo version, just send to see if they liked it. And I don't know why we didn't play to a click back then. We were just
The
I
the demo ended up
think that
becoming the
somebody would have been like, "Oh,
song.
you think we should put a click on?" I don't know. But and then they were just like, "This is great. We're gonna take it." And we were like, "Oh, okay. You can have it." And
Hey,
then
maybe that's what do we know? You know, what do we know?
yeah, so that's Rise and You're Gone and Still Alive that we did that with. All three made it onto the record.
How did you guys get linked up with the news station to do that? Were they doing like a battle of the bands type of thing, or did they put out an ad like, "Hey, we're looking for a new
They
Friday
reached
night
out to
lights spot"?
us. I remember just getting an email and I just we just went. Yeah.
I I think there was some buzz about the band because I mean, you guys were doing a bunch of cool shows, like played with like the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus and Saving Abel and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, this
And
was like
I don't really think of too many other bands that were kind of doing most of those national shows at the time.
yeah, it's crazy that I mean that was when I was still in high school. That was pre like when we say the band actually started. That was like when I had the high school like lineup. Didn't have Adam or Colt or any. It was just me and the drummer Dylan, who we started playing together when we were really young, like super young. So it's crazy that we were even playing with nationals that young.
How
But
long have
yeah,
you been playing guitar, Kelly?
I got my first guitar when I was 8. So, geez, I feel old. Yeah, long time.
Well, shout out to Schecter because I noticed in they're not a sponsor of this podcast, but that my first guitar was a Schecter Damien 6, and it had the mother of pearl bats on like the fretboard.
Black one, I know what
Um,
you're talking about, with the two knobs and right.
yeah, it had EMG humbuckers in it. I think they were like was it HC, EMG HC humbuckers or whatever.
I
Now
call them.
I still have a C1 body. It's just a stealth C1. Yeah, so that's why I was gonna give it a shout out because I saw that you had Hellraiser, right? It's a Hellraiser, and then you had in the video, was it there was like was it the Hellraiser Solo 6? Is that what they called it? It has kind of like
Solo
that.
2 in the Echoes video.
Yeah, yeah.
I used that Solo 2 for a while, but I stopped using the ones with that body style because I prefer ones like this. But that was an experimental moment with the Solo 2. But this was my first like real the Hellraiser. It was my first like real guitar. That's the oldest guitar I have.
Yeah, it's funny. We were all playing Schecter there for a minute.
Are we? Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, my
yeah. Well, I was a big Avenged Sevenfold fan. No, I still am, but
Because the Hellraiser is that I think that does that have active pickups in it? Is it the 81 85s are in that one that come like stock in that? There was a
Mhm.
cool like I don't know if they called it like a deep sea green, and I was like, I'm not good enough at all because I'm just like at home guitar player, no audience other than the bobbleheads on my dresser type of thing. Like I would never play for anybody. It's just therapeutic because I'm terrible and it's just fun to dust it off every now and again. But I remember they came out with a green version of the one that you have. And that is green's my favorite color. I'm like, oh, that's so sick. But I feel like again, they're not a sponsor of the show. So anybody from Schecter, if you listen to this and you want to get down with March 4th, hit me up. But what I liked about them was like they had really good instruments. I felt like that are comfortable to play at a
Mhm.
decent price point. You know, like my first guitar was I think 400 or 450. So for somebody just kind of
Yeah.
playing at home. But then I've seen people on the road playing stuff in that range, like below the Hellraiser price point, where they'll have like Damien's or Omens on the road and stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, you know what I mean? So, yeah,
Great
shout out to
guitar.
Hector.
Yeah. Sponsor.
Yeah. It's funny too. A lot of our favorite bands back then were playing Checker too. Like I loved like I still can picture it in my head. There's like this photo of Jeremy from the Devil Wears Prada and like maybe a Z Sounds magazine or something like that playing something and like Papa Roach and then Sevenfold. Like they were all on Checker game.
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't left. I'm still there. I got a bunch. I've been
Yeah.
wondering
it-
about
oh,
stretching
sorry.
into.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've been trying to maybe experiment with other brands, but I just keep going back to Schecter.
That C1 body shape of the Hellraiser that they've had for other guitars. I mean, I'm sure like the thickness of the neck varies and stuff. The one that I have is the C1. I think it came out in like maybe 15, and it's got I think it's got like a set in neck, and then that satin finish like goes all the way on the back of it. Um, and then I had some what pickups did I? It was like a Nazgul Sentient combination, and that one's cool because you can like split the coils. You can split the pickups, so you can get like cool clean sounds and like a cool crunch. So I had those like switched out of it, but it's just fun. Like it's just an easy like guitar to play. When you're terrible like me and you just want to have something that sounds good and plug into. I have a Vox amp um in the room that sounds good that I've had for years, and it's just kind of fun to play around. But yeah, I was like, I had to shout out again. They're not a sponsor, and I've brought them up for like 5 minutes. But hey, I think they make awesome stuff, dude. Shout out to Schecter. Dan Donegan had it. I don't know if he still has a signature with them.
Hmm. Yeah, he
Um, but
does.
yeah, he's with them. MGK, they kind of have like a whole range of musicians on there. Um, who's the dude from a Sixth Sense? Oh gosh, I think he had a guitar with him. I might have to edit that out because I hate when I forget people's names. But when Nikki Sixx came back and did like his solo thing, whoever
Hmm.
that's the singer is in his like not Motley Crue, but that other band they play Schecters too. But yeah, I
6 a.m.
6 a.m. Six Sense was his radio show. Yeah, 6 a.m. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
DJ Ashba.
Jay Ashba, that's who it is. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
dude, I love DJ's playing. He's so good.
Um, that first 6 a.m. record I really loved when that came out. I think I was in early college when that came out because I think the book came out around that same time. It was like 2007, 2008, which was right around the time I started playing. Um, but, but yeah, shout out to DJ Ashba. That 6 a.m. record is really good, man. But so bringing it back to y'all with something clever, when did the conversation start? And thanks again so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I feel bad now. I said I wasn't going to talk as much, and then I feel like I'm just ranting it up right now. Um, just did a total free plug for Schecter. They're sick though. Shout out Schecter. But when did the conversation start for you guys to do like an official send off? How long has this been in the works for this September show?
It's been a few years.
Yeah. Like I think we've talked about it, not necessarily to the degree of a farewell show, but we've talked about the five of us playing for probably since a little after I left the band. Because like when I left in 2018, like being totally transparent and honest. It wasn't like we were on the best of terms or anything like that. And it was a whole like weird situation with that thing. But once me and Kelly reconnected first and kind of started being friends again and started chatting again. After a while, I was like, man, like it would be cool to just do like one more show like with this.
It was
But
basically like I felt like everyone was coming to me like whispering like it'd be really cool to do this thing, and then a couple months would go by and hey, we should maybe one day do this thing, and I'd just be like no, 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 that's done. Eh, that kind of thing. And then that went on for a while, and then within the last probably 2 years I was maybe getting more on board with the whole thing. um but it's a lot of work, and we're working on other endeavors. So it's a whole thing to do, but I'm glad we're doing it. It feels like the right time.
yeah, it's kind of wild that, it just happens to land this way because we're Forever May Falls kind of like taking a break for a little bit. And, you guys, Killakoi is working on new stuff right now.
Mhm.
But it just felt like it was a good time to just be able to get together and do it. And plus, it's the 10-year anniversary of the EP, which is makes it even more special.
In the darkness, yeah.
So the show's going to be September 6th. Um, the other bands on the bill, are these bands that you guys have played with over the years as well? How did you figure out the lineup?
Yeah. So Scars Remain, uh, like Travis, we've known him for the duration that Something Clever's been a band. I think he was in another band called Shadow Myself back in 2013 when we started, and we were playing shows together. So um it's cool to have Scars Remain and Travis on the show. And Enemies and Allies, they're fairly new to us. They've been a band for a few years now, I think, but they played on a Killakoi show not that long ago, and they did a great job. And we just wanted a cool new band to put on the show, and they were down. So that's kind of how that came. We didn't want to overcrowd the show with a bunch of bands, just trying to make it solid and uh, just have a really good, clean night. And yeah.
Is the venue a place that you guys have played before?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Amos's, when I saw Something Clever, my first time like going to a show was at Amos's. And then my first show, even before I was in the band, just filling in for him was at Amos's. My first time being on like a proper stage, and we were opening for a national band. And it's like the first time that I ever got to play a show where I was like, this is a proper show. You know what I mean? So
You were
yeah,
so nervous.
yeah, I know.
And he was playing guitar. He because our guitar player at the time was somewhere. And that was how Colt joined, because he posted this little video online of him. This was after he saw us play. He posted a little cover of him playing guitar. We were like, "Oh, let's ask that guy to fill in. He already knows it." And we were like, I remember I was sitting in a CC's Pizza, and I was sitting with my drummer at the time, and um, we were like, "Man, who's gonna fill in for Chris while he's gone?" And we were like, "Man, we should call Colt. He did that cover." And I remember I called him. And you hadn't really done like anything at this point. You were
Mm,
just
no.
making videos and stuff. So I called him and I was like, "Hey, man, do you want to fill in on guitar at our show with Saving Abel?" And he just was like, "What?" He was so.
Lost it, dude. Lost it.
That
Yeah.
is awesome though, man. Especially like because I think last few times we talked, I don't know if that I know we kind of got into like how people got into music, but I don't know if that came up that your first ever show was with Something Clever and Saving Abel.
First, like, yeah, honestly, probably first proper show was playing with Something Clever and Saving Abel. Like, Yeah. Wow. That's wild. I'd never even thought about that. But yeah, but it was fun, man. I was super nervous and I wanted to do a good job because I saw him play earlier in the year with Red Jumpsuit Apparatus and I was like, yo, this is the sickest band in the city. So I wanted to do a good job and it's funny. I still somewhere Kelly was super pro at she printed out tabs for the whole thing at the time. I still have them somewhere.
So goofy. I would never sit here and make tabs. Never. Oh my God, that sounds awful. But I did it all the time back then because it was all I had. It was like that was how I made music when I first started. It was like I made tabs, which was probably a good skill, but because then I could just be like, here you go, here's how you play it. I remember I
So
sent
tell
you homework.
so tell me, sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit more about Amos Southend. Is where the show is going to be played? So it sounds like obviously there's history with this venue, and like where I'm from in Toledo, there's a few of them, but one that's been a staple for years is Frankie's Inner City, and everybody and their brother has played there, and it's really cool because it's a small, intimate venue, and on the wall on the side, like when you walk in, the stage is to the left and the bar is to the right, and then on the other side of the bar there's another room, but the side where the stage is, there's like a window where the drummer is. It's a really small stage, so like people can walk by on the street and see like the drummer on the drum kit. But on the wall where everybody is standing in front of the band is just all these old flyers and stuff from back in the day. It's really cool. It's and like everybody from like POD to Limp to the Smashing Pumpkins, Goo Goo Dolls, like Local H, like all these bands have played there over the years. So is Amos kind of like one of those venues where everybody's kind of played it and they're a band that like has good ownership and really looks out for like the local scene too, because that's kind of like what Frankie's is to Toledo where I'm from.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Amos's was the place to go if you wanted to see the bands that we were into at the time. Like, dude, there's flyers in there from like Shinedown, Avenged Sevenfold played there, and then even just megastars like Ed Sheeran played in Amos's, and that was a place to go if you wanted to see like sort of like bigger bands or bands kind of on the rise. I don't remember Amos's being like super local focused at the time. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I remember it was like a feeling of like it was a real privilege to get the opportunity to be there and to play like shows there. And especially too if you got to play like a national show, it was a big deal to be able to say to your friends like, yeah, we're playing with this band at Amos's. Like it was like a seal of approval kind of, at least for me.
It was, you were being held to a little bit of a higher standard. You were expected to bring people out and not just be on the show and not do anything about it. And every time that, we were on something, we worked hard and that brought us back.
Are there any shows? Because I mean, there's numerous like national bands that you guys have played shows with over the years in something clever. Kelly, Colt, are there any beyond that Saving Abel one with you? That's so wild that was your first show, Colt. But are there any that really stick out to you, whether it's memorable shows or maybe you were a little nervous or there were bands that were super cool to you that maybe you looked up to growing up and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting to share the stage with them now.
Definitely.
Oh man.
The first one that popped in my head was not necessarily at a venue, but it was kind of during the height of the band's career was 2016 Carolina Rebellion. We played the campground party and there wasn't necessarily like any big bands like that night at the campground. It was like us and one other band. I think they were like a Rush tribute band or something. But everybody was like out there ready for the whole weekend. It was crowded. Uh, and I remember that whole day basically. Uh, and it was pouring rain like between our sound check and when we played. And I remember my like guitar got soaked and I didn't know if we were even gonna go on. And then we finally like got the okay to go on and it was just like it was so dope. It was one of the highlights of anything we ever played just because it was probably one of the biggest crowds we'd played for. So that one definitely stands out for me.
Yeah. Plus, too, like the other cool thing with Rebellion was like we were still able to go the whole weekend, and
Oh yeah.
we were basically given like artist access
Gold
for the whole
passes.
weekend.
Yeah.
Dude, just it's going back into like the the promotional tent with like the radio people and everything and seeing all of your favorite bands and you just played there. It's like we definitely should not be back
Yeah,
here.
dude. That
But
gold pass, like you just walk anywhere confidently with that. And I remember that was like my first time experiencing something like that. And the media people were like, "Hey, you guys, you played the other night. Go come sign this guitar." And we were like, "Okay." And went into this tent, and they were giving away like a raffle guitar or something. And so we wrote like something clever. Da da da. We all signed it. And then Randy Blythe comes in and just was like, I give him the pen. I'm just like, uh, we just signed the same guitar. What the hell?
yeah,
That was really weird.
that that one stands out. And then as far as like maybe like national bands that we played with, one that stands out in my mind is not necessarily because of the show, but because of my memory with it was when we played with All That Remains because we did one show with them at Neighborhood Theater, and my dad had just gotten into them, but he didn't know that they were a metal band. He had heard like the like slower songs. So they get up on stage and I get in the pit after we play. And my dad just pulls me aside and is like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you
Well, he
just
liked that
played.
cover. I bet it's that
Yeah,
cover.
he no,
Like,
he liked
yeah, what's it called?
What If I Was Nothing, that song. He loved that song. And that was the only thing he knew by them at the time. So he had no idea of like this calling or six or any of that sort of stuff. So they start playing and I just get in the pit because I'm so stoked that we're there.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what the hell are you doing? Like you're gonna break your leg doing that. Like, so shout out my dad. My dad was a big help for many years with the band. He used to drive us around and, you
Yeah.
know,
All the
haul all the
trailer.
gear and stuff.
Shout out to John.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so hilarious when you as soon as you said it, I was like, I wonder if he's talking about What If I Was Nothing, because that's like I remember when that album came out. I got that when it came out. I think it came out 2012, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. I think it was because Deftones released I never say it right, Koi no Yokan or Koi no Yokan, that
Mhm.
record I think was the same year as that album too. 2012 actually had some heat. Tremonti's first solo record, All I Was, came out. Flint and Morgan did Call Me No One came out that year. I think that was the first year that the Slash and Miles
Mhm.
link up that record. That first one came out. But anyway, yeah, I remember picking that one up. But yeah, as soon as you said that, I'm like, I'm wondering if he's talking about What If I Was Nothing, because that's probably the lightest All That Remains song that I've heard. 2 Weeks was kind of a ballad, but it was still heavy. That
Yeah.
like it's still heavy. It's not like light, but like it's more of a I feel like it for somebody who's fringe heavy, I feel like that one is kind of like they would listen to that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got a singing
It
chorus.
yeah, it's funny. My dad had never I mean, he'd heard us play. We used to do a cover of The End of Heartache back in the day, but that was about as like the heaviest that my dad had ever heard, like any band. So then, they get up and do like This Calling or something like that, and it's just straight like, you know, it kicks it the whole time. And he's like, whoa, like this is wild.
Yeah, we did used to do the end of Heartache a lot.
Mhm,
Forgot about that. That's a fun one.
mhm.
That's an epic intro to that too, guitar wise. That's like a cool kind of. You know, that's yeah, that's a
He
great
does
one.
that thing live when he's like playing, you know what I mean? He does the little thing.
Yeah.
Or we tried to do that. I can't
I
do it.
saw a video with him where he literally went to the bar during one of their songs. I can't remember if it was the end of Heartache, Adam D, and was like playing while he was like ordering ordering a shot. And I think when they were on tour with Slayer, I could be misremembering this, but I think there was a little bit of friction because he would go out there with like a cape and like jump around and stuff and like have fun and like
Yeah.
and it was fun. They're like, hey, metal's supposed to be more. I had kind of read that. I don't know how much of it's true. I don't want to draw the ire of any of the Slayer camp or fans if anybody from Slayer listens to this show, but yeah, I remember hearing stuff about like, hey, metal's not supposed to be, because he's a total goofball. That's one of the things I love about Adam and Killswitch is they are like sick musicians, but they have a lot of fun with it too, which I feel like that's how it should be. Like, you know what I mean? There's obviously certain songs that are more somber or darker, but still it's still a party. You should still have fun up there. You know what I mean? And he's always been a
Yeah.
guy who seems like he's embraced that.
Mhm. I agree.
Have you guys ever come across, like in all your years of playing shows, has anybody given you guys any good advice or, whether it was fellow bands in the scene or national bands that you've played with or anybody that treated you really well that you always remember, you're like, yo, hey, if I get to a certain level one day and I have a chance to lift up somebody else, I'm going to make sure that I look out for them the way that they were looking out for me or they were cool to me.
You know what? It's not a band that we ever played with. I wish we did, but the band that comes to mind is or the a person that comes to mind is a guy named Tyler Smith. He was sang for this band called Danger Kids, and I remember when I found them, like they were like mine and Kelly's like jam for a long while, and
Blacklist. Hell yeah.
yeah, so we went to go see him in Greensboro. Is Side note, this first and only time I've ever gotten a speeding ticket,
You got a
just
big
going to see Danger Kids. But we went to the show and it was like maybe probably no more than 10 people at the show.
yeah.
And we sat with Tyler for probably about if what felt like an hour and a half. And he was just so cool, answered like anything that we wanted to ask him. And I still talk to him to this day. And he's doing stuff like he's Falling in Reverse as producer. He's does I Prevail. He
Yeah.
does all these massive bands, but he still is one of those guys that's cool enough to answer you like when he has a moment and give you honest critiques, honest feedback, and honest advice. And not saying we'd ever like do anything where we need to reach back and help him because he's doing just fine. But it's still just that's like I put him as a very high on like my like benchmark of like that's just a good dude, like a solid dude in the industry.
Mhm. Yeah, I would have to agree with that one for sure. Um, One of my first moments like that though, um, I remember Chris was still in the band playing guitar, and we went to an Adelitas Way show at Amos's, and we went to see the show, but we were early, and we went out to the tavern at the tracks, which is like the restaurant that's attached basically like right next door to Amos's. And we saw Rick, the singer, sitting there eating. And I was kind of like, just whatever, let him do his thing. But Chris, he's kind of more like, come on, let's go say hi or whatever. And so we did, and we were young and uh impressionable. Um, so we were really kind of starstruck-ish, and we didn't really know what to say, but we kind of told him we were in a band, and I don't really remember much of the conversation. I just remember he was very nice, and he told us to sit down across from him while he ate his dinner and was asking us like questions and um was just being really cool about, keep going and keep doing your thing. And uh yeah, I just remember Chris was like knee budging me because we were just sitting next to each other across from him, and we were just like, we're sitting here right now talking to this guy, and he's just talking and talking and talking and talking, and he actually cared. So that was a cool moment pretty early on.
Yeah, that's it's good to hear those stories because I feel like what's that quote? It's like people will they'll forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel, you
Yeah.
know? And I feel like that's how it is in life, but I feel like music's the same way too, you know? It's like there's songs you just it's weird. It's like it's almost like another sense, right? Because I think your sense of smell is the one that's most associated with memory. Like, and I
Hmm.
feel songs are like that. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys as musicians too, like whether it's one that you've made yourself or like a song that hit you at a certain time, you're like, dude, I can remember where I was when I like got that record and looked at the album notes or when I used to listen to that. It's that connection that music has. So it's cool when people who have achieved a certain level of success, you know, are still humble like that. I love hearing those stories. Like I said at the beginning, I don't like digging for the dirt. I like hearing like the positive, like the good stuff, you know, because
Yeah.
those are things like even when I used to do interviews, before I did this podcast, when I used to write for Toledo Free Press and do music feature stories, and I would cover bands in the local scene. Shout out to my buds and Tropic Bombs and Ryan, one of my best buds to this day. Their music is the bumper music on this show. I love those guys and they're sick. So I'll always give them any kind of plug that I can. But like I would do their shows. And I'd get to do phone interviews sometimes too with like bands playing through the area, and Toledo's close enough to Detroit that if people were playing either at like the Machine Shop, which is it's Flint, but it's still like Detroit area, Southeast Michigan.
Love the
Um,
machine.
yeah, like you know what's crazy? Like I've never been to a show there. I've been to like the Fillmore places up there, but the Machine Shop is one that always seems to have embraced heavy music, especially. So that's on my bucket list of venues to go to. Um,
There
but
two
yeah,
times, and it's like one of my all-time favorite venues so far. They're just, it's you literally like go there and you see the owner up in the rafters like cleaning it like with a toothbrush. He like really cares about the place, and there's just so much history there. It's dope every time you walk in, and uh the whole scene there is just awesome. There's always a huge turnout every time I'm there.
mm, don't they have like a wall too where all the bands take pictures and like
Yeah.
they get them in that hall and like I from all the pictures I've seen like you'll see the band taking the picture and then you see all the pictures of all the other bands who have but no, I'm so glad to hear that. And that was a venue actually. Kelly, I'm glad to hear that because like when COVID went down, I was like, God, I hope, you know, just being from Northwest Ohio and I lived just over the line in Erie, Michigan for a little bit. But Flint's been through some really hard times, man, and so is Detroit. And Detroit, like downtown Detroit's kind of having a comeback right now, which is cool. But that was a venue. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily worried about closing because I know how like healthy like that heavy music scene is there. But I was just concerned in general, like for venues of like what is this going to look like not having live shows for a while, especially in a city like Flint that's been hit by hard times. So I'm glad that they're still thriving, man, because yeah, you hear nothing but good things about that place. Like I know Nonpoint plays there all the time, Seven Dust, Disturbed, like everybody and their brothers played there, man. But yeah, it over the years, like doing this stuff, like I've never had anybody that was not cool in interviews. I definitely had a few where I could tell like maybe I was part of their media block that day, you know, and you know there's only so many different ways like I try to pride myself on like asking good questions, but there's only especially if a band's promoting an album or they're on tour, there's only so many different ways you can ask about hey, how's tour? How's this record? How did you, you
Sure.
know? But thankfully I've never had anybody like not be cool to me. But I remember the people who were like really, really kind and really, really nice. And thankfully people that I've really looked up to as a fan before I got into writing and eventually doing this podcast, bands like Seven Dust and Alter Bridge. I've gotten a chance to talk to members of both, and they were all like super cool dudes. Because that would have been a real bummer if they weren't cool.
Right.
Not that I didn't think they would be, but like they were all like super super nice people. And I remember LJ saying that in an interview too. He was like, treat people the right way, but he's like, just remember, like the people you see on the way up are often the same ones you see on the way back down. So like it's sometimes you hear horror stories in the music industry, but it's always cool to hear about like the good people, man. And you guys are good people. That's why I wanted to get you on for this, man. Kelly, I know this is our first time talking, but Colt's done the show a few times. So when he said that you were going to join the show too, I was like, that's sick. Because it was really cool to go back and listen to something clever and check out the catalog. So before we officially wrap this up, and thank you again so much, Colt and Kelly, for taking the time to do this, man, for real. Um, how I like just I mean, I know we've kind of talked about it, but getting this show together now obviously I'm sure there's going to be some rehearsing because this is the first time in what 7 years I think I saw that this lineup will be playing. So do you kind of have an idea of like the set list? Have you guys gotten there yet? What's that process like? I know we're a little at the time we're recording this, it'll hit people's ears in August, but we're a little about 2 months away. So are you kind of there as far as the catalog set list and kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah. And then thank you for all the kind words. We're, stoked to be here and we appreciate your time as well. But yes, the set list is pretty much there. We are working on the show, trying to get everything prepared, uh, just, session wise and gear and everything. And we're getting ready to probably start practicing individually. I think I practiced a couple songs actually before we got on this call, just getting the dust off a couple tracks, and I'm sure Colt's probably doing the same. But yeah, I think we have a pretty rough set laid out, and we can make some adjustments as needed once we all get in the room together, which probably will be brief. I mean, probably do like one or two rehearsals. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you said this is gonna come out around August time now. I mean, we got some cool stuff going on with the set too. Uh, maybe some friends will come out and play a couple songs or something, and maybe
There
some
will be
special.
guest appearances.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a really fun show. We've never gotten to do a show quite like this,
Yeah.
which is super exciting.
There's a lot of people involved in this band. I mean, the band had a 10-year lifespan basically, and members came and went, and uh, people will have their moment. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Well, with the theme of the show being March 4th and kind of the meaning behind that being like perseverance, moving forward, Colt knows mental health is something that like I talk about with guests on this show just because I think it's not to sound self-righteous, but it's important for people to know that they're not alone out there with whatever it is that they're going through. And I feel like if more people felt like they could speak whatever's on their heart or their mind, there'd be a lot of people that still be here. And music obviously is a huge force emotionally for so many people, myself included. And not to speak for y'all, but as musicians, I'm sure for you guys too. But again, kind of we touched on like the reconciliation or reconnecting, if you will, of bands that we like. Obviously, you guys are doing this farewell show. Um, but as people who have been making music as long as you have, and knowing what it's like being in a band and the challenges that come with that, What have you guys learned about yourselves, and maybe not even specific to something clever, but just about being in this position where you can do this farewell show and it's not like, ah, forget that. Like, I don't want to talk to that person anymore. Like, obviously you guys are cool. You're doing this podcast together. You've reconnected even before it sounds like this farewell show was there and you've remained friends. But being able to, I guess, maintain or keep positive, healthy relationships when it comes to business and friendship. I know it can be a challenge. Any advice for bands out there? Just as you know, two people who went on to do new projects but still stayed cool the way that you guys have.
Yeah, for me personally, and we kind of touched on it briefly, like when I left the band in 2018, it was a lot of, like I said, it wasn't on the best of terms and anything. But I think one of the things that I've learned now as I've gotten older and, reconnected with everybody is like you'll have disagreements with people, you'll have differing opinions and, maybe even differing goals or whatever the case may be. But if they're genuinely good people, they wouldn't be arguing with you about those things unless you both were trying to get to the same like sort of place. Like, and their version of success and their version of things might be slightly different than yours, but they're only arguing with you about it because they care as much as you do. And to really appreciate, like, I'll just be transparent. Like, Kelly's one of my best friends. She's always been one of my best friends since I don't know how long now at this point. But, there was a moment where didn't have that. And I think I took that for granted for a couple of years. And, you know, I think I've grown now to learn to really honor that and really like appreciate what we have, you know, as friends, as musicians, everything. Because I didn't have that for a while. Even in other projects, like some people aren't don't have the best intentions and makes you really wish you had held on to the people that really cared about you.
Yeah, the I'm grateful for being in music for the last, I mean, it's been half of my life at this point, and I don't think I would have met any any of these guys or anyone in my life now that's important if I hadn't been in music and trying to, make something happen, and trying to be as driven as I am to grow and learn and, do the thing. So it's really cool to have something in your life, and I think everyone should have this in their life, what I like to reference as a lighthouse. Um, I would say that music and being in a band is my lighthouse in my life. It's something that you can see and that you are walking towards and shooting towards. Because if you don't have a thing in your life that you're working at or trying to reach a goal or something to just strive for to keep you going, like your passion or whatever that is, it's like, what are you doing? You can't just live every day waiting for the next. You have to be working on something to, feel um, fulfilled. So I'm definitely grateful for music for that for me. And like I said, to have all these people around me that share the same thing. We're all working towards this thing together, and yeah, it's really awesome. One thing that I did want to just mention about something clever specifically when you're talking about mental health and stuff like that is I really always appreciated the meaning that something clever was always really transparent about was, and this is what our two albums were about, was there's no darkness without light. That's why we had Season of Darkness, Season of Light. And I have to credit Adam for, coming up with that concept very early on, but I think it really resonated with a lot of people, a lot of people that maybe felt like outsiders or maybe didn't feel like they belonged somewhere. Um, and I think that was one of the key concepts in our history and our success. I think that's why people are so excited to see it come back so that they can feel that again live, what they really resonated with. So yeah, good stuff.
Hell yeah. Well, Colt, Kelly, I really appreciate the time, man. I feel like I could talk to you guys for 3 hours, but I don't want to chew y'all's ears off. And I like it when people want to come back. So, and I feel like that's like a great place to put a button on this, but I'm excited for you guys. I literally was listening to this earlier today. I was listening, doing a workout before the pod, and then realized I needed to plug into my computer so it would work to do this podcast. But but yeah, I really enjoy the music and what you guys put together at the time that you were together, and I'm glad that you guys are going to get the OGs back and do an awesome show and have some surprise guest appearances. So thank you so much for the time. Thank you for being open and also I think again like I've learned in my life like two awesome forces are whenever you're feeling down are gratitude and forgiveness slash reconciliation. And sometimes in life relationships end, whether they're personal or professional, and you don't always get the reconciliation part because sometimes it's not on you to reach out to somebody else that maybe did you wrong or didn't appreciate you, took you for granted, whatever. But you can still have forgiveness in your heart for that person and appreciate, the role that they played in your life at the time that they were in it. And then, like I said, with gratitude, I at least have found whenever I'm going through like a dark period, and I definitely struggle with my anxiety and whatnot. If I think about all the people in my life that I'm grateful for and just where I am in my life, because it's so easy to go the other way with social media, man, and compare yourself, especially in this creative space that we're all in, whether it's podcasting or music and just all this, and you got to use numbers and metrics to measure things. And they are kind of like a cool, like we were talking about Rise, like how that became, you're like, oh my God, that song on Spotify has almost a million. Like, so numbers do matter to a degree, but there's always failure in comparison. And I think that like leads to a lot of people's depression and darkness is, like they're constant, like you can pick up your phone at any time and be like, oh, that person's got this or they're doing that or whatever it is. But gratitude has always been able to help pull me out of that. Be like, yeah, but look at like, don't look at yourself as a measuring stick to this person or that person or a dollar amount or streams or downloads or whatever. Just think about all the wonderful people that you have in your life, man. So anyway, that's kind of, I guess, me kind of uh putting putting my 2 cents in like when it comes to mental health. And I love that what you said, Kelly, about the theme with the band of the darkness and the light, because it's so true. It's like even if you're a good person, like I'm attracted to a lot of dark stuff, man. I love horror movies, I love heavy music. Like darkness isn't an evil thing, it's a negative emotion, and if you channel it in like the proper way,
Mhm.
that's what makes like heavy music so beautiful to me. Like to this day, I listen to Korn and like that Untouchables record got me through my freshman year of high school, man. Like I to this day, like there's Blame is my favorite Korn deep cut. Shout out to Korn. Um,
So
Blame
sick.
is so gnarly, man. Like I said, but yeah, so I guess just relating to you, I should have shut up because you guys had great points about what I was asking about. Now I'm ranting, but yeah, I guess just to add to that, like gratitude and forgiveness slash reconciliation. That's kind of why I brought that up with y'all being able to do a farewell show as a band that hasn't jammed together in a while. I wish more bands could do that. So anyway, that was kind of the point I was trying to make. I just ranted for like 4.5 minutes,
You're
but
good. I was gonna add though, like when you were talking about comparing yourself to others, and the only person you should compare yourself to is yourself and your own growth. And if you see people online doing something that you wish you were doing, that should just make you realize that you can do it too. That they're doing it, you can also do it, and look how far you've already come.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks again, y'all, for doing this. I again really appreciate the time. I'm excited for y'all. I'll put the links in the podcast description, but let the people know where they can find you, and let them know about the deets of the show, other than the stuff that you can't spoil with the guest appearances, because I'm not trying to spoil anything.
No spoilers. Yeah, you can get tickets online at amosouthend.com. Something Clever Band on Instagram. Well, we have ticket links and things like that. I'm Killakoi Kelly. I think
I'm
Colt's.
a Colt.Crevar on Instagram. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
come hang out.
shout out Killakoi, and shout out Forever May Fall, your other musical endeavors, and shout out Something Clever. But yeah, man, really appreciate the time, and I'm really excited for you guys, man. I think it's really cool that bands get to do stuff like this, because you don't see it too much, and I think it's like a cool a cool moment to have a proper farewell, but also show people like, hey, man, people can get back together and do something beautiful still. That's really, really a cool takeaway.
yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thanks for having us, and
Yeah,
appreciate your time, and really enjoyed it.
yeah. I always love talking to you, bub. These are always my favorite interviews.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Kelly and Colt, formerly of Something Clever. Once again, this Saturday, September 6th, will be the 10-year anniversary Season of Darkness EP and official farewell show for Something Clever. That's going to be going down at Amos Southend in Charlotte, North Carolina. Something Clever is going to be performing with Scars Remain, Enemies and Allies. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some special guests. So if you are in the Charlotte area, or if you want to take a road trip, man, and spend an evening with some awesome musicians, make sure you go check out that official farewell show and 10-year anniversary of Season of Darkness EP with Something Clever and Scars Remain and Enemies and Allies. Amos Southend, September 6th, this Saturday in Charlotte. The links to everything will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go check out that show. If you can't make it to the show, please go check out the back catalog of Something Clever. Their music is available wherever you get your music, and definitely check out Colt and Kelly's bands Forever May Fall and Killakoi, respectively. Forever May Fall just dropped their latest single, Villain, not too long ago in July, if my memory serves me right. It's a killer track. It's a heavy track, and I'm really just excited to get this conversation to you guys, man. Once again, I want to say directly, excuse me, to Colt and to Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, y'all. Colt, this is I think your third time on, man. It's always a great time chatting with you. I'm so glad we've gotten to connect out here through the podcast, dude. Yeah, you're good people. You're a beast on the axe, and I love Forever May Fall, and it was really cool to go back and have a retrospective with Something Clever. Not only with the conversation that we had on this one, but listening to the music. And Kelly, thank you so much as well for taking the time to make your debut on the podcast. You are welcome back anytime. You are also good people and also awesome on the axe. And for anybody listening to this, man, if you're a fan of modern rock and just wizardry on the fretboard, go check out Kelly's work in Killakoi and check out her work in Something Clever, man. Once again, the links to all three bands, Something Clever, Forever May Fall, and Killakoi, will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom and hit all those links, man. But I'm a big fan of what y'all are doing. I think it's so cool that the universe and the stars aligned, and Something Clever is going to be able to do an official farewell show for all your friends and fans and fam, man. And I'm just so stoked for y'all. So once again, everybody, thank you for listening to the podcast. You can follow me at March 4th Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description as well. If you did enjoy the show, Please like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm not a good salesman. I would be a terrible salesman if I had to do it for a living, which is why I don't. And I don't really like talking about myself, even though I have a podcast, which is why I make it about the guests. But if you did enjoy what you heard, whether this was your first time aboard the pirate ship and Colt and or Kelly brought you here, thank you. But if you like and subscribe, if you leave a rating and a review on whatever streaming service you listen to this podcast on, it goes a long, long way, y'all, in helping the show get out to more people. And ultimately, that's what I want. I want to put more people onto awesome musicians and awesome people like Colt and Kelly because they deserve their shine. And that's why I love doing this show, because hopefully maybe I'm putting you on to some artists that either you weren't aware of previously, or just conversations that hopefully were entertaining and informative. And occasionally you'll hear about my burnt tongue and my sunburn, but most of the time it's about mental health and dope people and dope music, man. So if you enjoyed what you heard, I would really appreciate it if you took the time to like and subscribe. When you do those things, it helps the show rank higher in this mysterious algorithm and get these conversations out to more people. And Colt and Kelly definitely deserve their shine. Forever May Fall and Killakoi deserve their shine. And Something Clever deserves their shine as well. And I'm just so happy they're getting to do a proper farewell. So this will be my farewell. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for making it to the end. Keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. Courtesy of Colt and Kelly, we talked about it on this episode. I really connected with this song when I listened to their catalog and getting ready for this bad boy. From Something Clever off their EP Season of Darkness, here is the song Echoes. Peace.
These lines are memories of a city scene about to fall.